Because we are interconnected with macroscopic and microscopic organisms, plants, the air, the water. Everything's interconnected. And as humans with a brain that can reason, that is self-reflexive, you would think that we would be able to put that together in such a way in our own heads and not fall prey to our arrogance and thinking that somehow we are really special and we don't have to obey the laws of nature. We don't have to worry about the contaminated oceans, the streams, the brooks, the rivers, the lakes, the oceans. That somehow we don't, because we're humans, we don't have to worry about the atmosphere being choked with, carbon, the result of using fossil fuels and the contaminated air and punching a hole through so that, there are places on the planet they're heating up like nobody's business. We need to get over ourselves and get down to brass tacks here. I'm going to talk about this in some detail. Is that Ellington, Florida? Ellington, Florida. It's on the way. That's on the way to Orlando, right?
No, it's south of us. It's where the Ellington Bears play, the hockey team.
Okay.
The Solar Bears.
All right. I wouldn't know. Let's talk to Chris, lives in Ellington. Chris, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Hi, good morning. Thanks so much for taking my call.
Absolutely.
So, after watching several YouTube videos, I'm in my mid-40s, 2 kids, hitting McDonald's and Burger King, but I keep my weight in check. And I'm just getting kind of frustrated because every time I watch some of the trusting professionals I find online that talk about eating or more or less exercising, I'm coming to find out that everything I learned is totally wrong and listening to your show.
What do you think you learned that was wrong? Name a couple of things.
Oh, all right. Let's just say the milk, the sugar substitutes, bread, corn. I mean, how do you avoid corn and bread?
It's very. Your point's well taken, Christopher. How do you avoid corn? Corn is the essential raw material. It's in everything. And I'll talk about that again today some more. I talked about it yesterday. I don't know if you know who Michael Pollan is or if you read his book, Omnivore's Dilemma. I highly recommend it. I urge people to read it. It will give you an entirely different perspective on where your food comes from and what you're eating and how it's affecting our health as individuals and how it's affecting the planet global, in a bigger scale. But you're absolutely, it's pretty frustrating, isn't it?
Oh, totally. And I totally forgot about that now that I'm on the radio. Exactly what you said. So if I give my son milk, I know he's not drinking there's a lot of junk in it. And I can't trust that. But if it was my grandparents or my parents' age, it probably was safe, or safer, I should say, than nowadays. So I don't trust any, or not that I trust, but I just don't buy into any of that. And now, or if drinking what I used to be told that was healthy is considered not healthy anymore.
Yeah, right. So
at my age,
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. At my age, I'm getting older. I'm not necessarily getting grouchier yet, but I'm getting there. And I know, good thing my wife's not listening. I know what I like and what I don't like at this time. And what would your advice be for someone like myself? Like, who can I seek out to basically say, okay, Chris, I know you're going to hit McDonald's. I know you're going to hit Burger King. I know you're going to have a birthday party. If you're going to exercise and follow the regimen, here's what you need to eat.
Are you saying you're looking for a consultant or somebody to read or somebody to watch or listen to? Which What do you,
Yeah, exactly. I want somebody to tell me. I'm an IT person, so I need somebody to tell me the yes or no.
yeah.
Here's what you do, Chris, on your way
Okay.
to success.
You
I'm
need
not
to
gonna try
if you could hang on, don't hang up. We're headed into some hard messages that'll cut me off. So we'll be right back. We'll talk with Chris globally as well as coast to coast. He's asking great questions. He's right on the money, man. Back, welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Have a listener on the holding here. His name is Chris. He is illustrative of people who are very confused and concerned about what to eat. His concerns are real. And, you know, he's worried about his children, his family, himself. What do I feed my kids? Do I give them regular milk? Should they be eating that white bread? What should they eat? What should I eat? What should my family eat? It turns out that that corn is the primary raw material. It's the great raw material. This is pointed out in the film Food, Inc. 30% of the land mass in the United States is used for what? To grow corn. Since, and the foods are engineered, since we grow so much corn, they had to figure out all the different ways they could use it. And boy, they have come up with a bunch of different ways to use corn. And so we end up with engineered foods with corn as the raw, many times as the raw material. And you usually also run into high fructose corn syrup along the way too. 90%, it's just remarkable that when you look at the food in the grocery store, some say as much as 90% of the items contain either a corn or soybean ingredient. And most of the time, they will have both of them. And so Chris is absolutely right, and his concerns are real. Chris, welcome back. The answer to your question, how do you get on the right path and who can provide that kind of guidance? That is, you would think that there are a lot of people out there that can do that. The natural response for me would be to say, well, you find a good nutritionist or a good dietitian or a naturopath who practices integrative medicine, naturopathic physician who went to a real naturopathic school, accredited school, and practices integrative medicine. To find those people is not so easy. The next best alternative for you, and by the way, welcome back to the show. I really appreciate you calling the show today and sharing your thoughts and your feelings about this. You have another comment or two you'd like to make before I tell you more?
Oh, no, thank you so much. Yeah, I could literally take, a sabbatical from work and try to research all this and still be scratching my head probably after a month or two of trying to figure this out on my own. So, and of course, every new report comes out, then it's like, oh, I guess the stuff I learned is not right, or something,
Yeah, so
research and study.
No, I get it, and see what has happened since we don't have a food tradition in this culture, an established food tradition with rules and norms and real guidance. We don't. We have food items that are unique to our culture, but we're not like in the Mediterranean, Italy, Spain, France. Their food cultures have been developed over hundreds, if not thousands of years. So they know what to eat, what not to eat. They know how to eat. What we rely on in our culture are fad diets and science to tell us what to eat. Well, the first option is not a good option. Fad diets are just that, fads. Science can only help up to a point. And sometimes even the science is conflicted. One study says one thing, another study says eat this, another study says no, don't eat that. And so people are frustrated and confused. Even the experts are. So what can you do? All right. You're probably driving, you can't take notes, but of course you can go back and listen or watch this show. I'll name some names and websites that you can go and visit and try to get an idea about what to do. There are a number of people to pay attention to. Dr. Michael Greger. you can go to nutritionfacts.org. You'll learn a lot from Dr. Greger. He has a relatively new book out called How Not to Die. In there, he lays out various nutritional and dietary principles that are based on a whole food, plant-based diet. Then you have Michael Clapper. You can go to his website. Then he is also a proponent and expert in the world of nutrition and a whole food, plant-based diet. Then there's Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, who is a cardiac surgeon at Cleveland Clinic. And you can go to his website, Dr. Esselstyn's website, Caldwell Esselstyn, and you'll learn a lot. He's more strict than most. He talks about a whole food, plant-based diet, Christopher. No meat, no dairy, no oil. Of course, he's dealing with patients that have coronary heart disease. That's where the no oil comes in. Then there is Dr. McDougall, another whole food, plant-based diet expert. You can go to his website. He even has certain foods that you can buy. I use some of his soups that are made. that are wonderful.
Yeah, you gave me some. Yeah,
they're good, right?
Yes, they're tasty.
Then there's Dr. Christopher, Dr. Neil Barnard. You can go to his website. Another expert from a whole food, plant-based diet perspective. When you get on there, go to their websites, get on their Facebook page, and get on their feeds, their Facebook feeds, and you'll start to get their posts every day, their announcements, and you'll start to learn and get smart about what to do. If you want to hang on, I'll talk to you some more from the bottom of the hour, and I'll give you a chance to respond to me. I'll be right back. to Let's Talk Nutrition, talking with Chris. He asks a question and raises a concern that really goes to the heart and soul of what this show is really trying to do and what it's about. Trying to educate ourselves, inform ourselves about our diet, our nutrition, and our lifestyle. And what should we eat, what should we avoid, and how should we live? It's challenging. Chris, welcome back. All those names I gave you, all of those doctors have books, and then you go to their websites and you can find out what they've written. Neil Barnard has written books. Esselstyn, McDougall, Dr. Greger, all of them have written. Dr. Clapper. Those are physicians. Before I tell you more, did you have a question or a comment?
Oh, well, thanks so much for all the information you provided so far. So I'll definitely look them up on the computer.
All right, I got more for you. I would recommend that you watch the film Food Inc. Food Inc. And then there's another film called Farmageddon. I would recommend you watch that. Then I would recommend that you read Michael Pollan's book, who is a journalist, an investigative journalist, The Omnivore's Dilemma. That's a must-read. It will change how you think about food and what you're doing and how you're doing it and whatnot. I mean, it really will open your eyes, as will both of those films. There's another book by Marion Nestle called Safe Food. Safe Food. I recommend that. And then there's another book by Allison Anneser. It's entitled Refined to Real Food. Refined to Real Food. I recommend that. Then you can go to Marion Nestle's website. It's foodpolitics.com. Then you can also, foodpolitics.com, and then you can go to another website called Foodopoly, FOODOPOLY.org. And you'll learn a lot there. And then finally, I would recommend the Environmental Working Group's website, EWG.org. I would stay in touch with that website. They're constantly evaluating what's going on the planet, climate change, the food chain, and whatnot. Excellent website. That the answer to your question is I wish I could tell you somebody you could go to. Sometimes you just have to. You're on your own and you have to figure it out. And you need somebody to point you in the right direction, and then you'll start to find your own direction. I've given you some hints and some clues as to who to read and where to go. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, Chris or Christopher.
No, that's definitely helpful. Thank you. I'll do a combination, and it's lifelong learning. I'm getting older now. I don't want to be dying. I want to enjoy the stuff that I've learned over the years, and
right.
I want to be able to ride bikes and do things that my son can do, even though I'm probably people look down upon my age doing those type of things. But oh well, it's fun.
It is fun, and you're a young man, relatively speaking. You got a lot of life in front of you, and you're on the right track. And it's hard. It's hard to figure out who do you listen to, what do you follow, what theory, because it's so trendy and so mixed messages. And if you listen to this show, I do my best to give you the truth as I know it. It's an evidence-based show. I try to be open-minded and consider all points of view and avenues and evaluate them, and then make decisions and choices about which one I want to follow and which ones I would recommend. So it's a process, and it'll take time to build a repertoire of insight, but you're on the right track. Your call is a great call. I mean, you inspire me to talk about this, and it inspires me as well.
Great. Well, thank you. That's very flattering.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate the call that you made, and for you to be thinking this way about yourself and your family you're in a good place. I would continue to, and you can call this show anytime you want, any questions you want, anything you learn, Please call us and let us know what's going on, please.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you both.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure and a privilege to talk with you. So, Gary, that call is, I spent a lot of time with him. I spent almost two segments,
Right.
almost a half hour, because I could hear in his voice his concern and his urgency. And I know he's not alone.
No, he's not. There's a lot of, like me,
In fact, it may be the majority of people. And I spent that amount of time. I went off on my track of what I wanted to talk. I want to talk about what he wanted to talk about, because I think that gets to the heart and soul of what we're about here, what we're trying to do every day.
One of the biggest problems is, a burger's $1 and a salad is $7. So, and
there's so much unevenness, Gary. It's crazy. They can buy these giant international corporations can buy the corn cheaper than it costs the farmer to grow it. Why? Because the government subsidizes the farmers. And the farmers, you think the farmers are making, no pun intended, bushels of money. No, they're not.
No.
Most of these poor folks are a breath away from bankruptcy.
Oh, yeah.
They're in debt up to their ears in corn. How about that?
Well, you're paying $400,000 for a tractor. I mean,
You know how much it costs to put one of those chicken, I call it coop. What do you call it? What's the
yeah, it's basically what it is. Yeah.
It costs about $250,000. It's a place where they keep the chickens in the dark constantly. No sunlight. They're raised with no sunlight. It costs a farmer about somewhere between $250,000 to $300,000 to build one of those. And then these multinational companies keep asking these people, these farmers, oh, you need to upgrade it. You need to do this. You need to do that. And the farmer's constantly going to the bank asking for a loan. And they're not making that much money to start with. And so the farmer is mistreated, the animals are mistreated, and humankind is mistreated by this whole effort. And make no mistake, what is this all about? It's about the money. It's always about the money. I'm not against capitalism and people making money. What I'm against is making money at the expense of other humans and the earth and the animals. That's what I'm against. You can be, why do you have to be so greedy? Is my question. What's that old saying? Pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Keeping in the theme here, no pun intended. Yeah. It's distressing. I even get distressed, but I'm optimistic. We'll come back. We'll talk some more. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Returning back to the story that I wanted to get to today and share with you. The United Nations has published its biodiversity report, and it is trending all over the place. National Geographic, WHO, the XYZ, everybody's on it. All the major papers, major websites that are concerned about the planet. It's everywhere. And the headline on the report, one of the headlines is 1 million species face extinction, and humans will suffer as a result. Another headline from the report is nature is in its worst shape in human history, according to the report. Those are dramatic statements. 1 million species at risk of extinction is another headline from National Geographic. It goes on and on. And, you just wonder what's up. Well, let me see if I can illuminate this a little bit. This is this report was released yesterday when I got off air. And it's a landmark report, and there are 7 lead authors, co-authors on the report from universities across the world, and goes further than any previous research that directly link the loss of species to human activity. What is humankind doing that is responsible for the extinction of one species after another, and how does it connect to climate change? The report also demonstrates how these losses are undermining food and water security on a global basis, as well as undermining human health and health of other species as well, of organism, both macroscopic and microscopic. More plants and animals, according to the report, are threatened with extinction now than during any other moment or period in human history. This is not something that we have to wait for. This is not something that's going to arrive. This is something that is now. The report concludes, they talk about nature's current rate of decline. These scientists, their language is remarkable, unparalleled. And the accelerating rate of extinctions, quote, means grave impacts on people around the world are now likely, close quote. That's a quote from the report. These accelerated rates of extinction, quote, mean grave impacts on people around the world are now likely, close quote. A Dr. Robert Watson, a British chemist, in a prepared statement, he served as the chairperson of the panel, said that the decline in biodiversity is eroding, quote, the foundations of our economies, livelihoods, food security, health, and quality of life worldwide, close quote. Now, you always have to use your critical thinking skills and ask, okay, who's the messenger? Who is this guy? And who are these scientists? And what is this organization? And so on and so on. Is the messenger credible? If the messenger isn't credible, the message isn't going to be credible. I can assure you that Dr. Watson, not the one that was involved with Sherlock Holmes, but Dr. Robert Watson, a British chemist, and scores and hundreds of scientists involved in this report are not out there on the fringe somewhere. These are serious people with a serious message. And I take them seriously and I believe them. They show me the data. I look at the data. Nearly 150 authors and 50 from 50 nations worked for 3 years to compile this report. That's a lot of IQ, collective IQ. It's to compile the report by the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. That's a panel with 132 member nations, including the United States. Representatives of each nation in this organization signed off on the findings, including the United States. The authors of the report, they couldn't have 150 write the report, so they had 7 primary co-authors do it. They urged the governments of the world to address the global decline of biodiversity together with human-caused climate change. Human-caused. To say, you can say what you want, but to say that humans are not implicated in the deterioration of this planet in terms of the air, the water, the soil, the food chain is naive. I'm sorry, with all due respect. The climate is warming. It's not only warmer, it's colder. That's why they call it climate change, right? And not just global warming. The warming climate, however, is a major driver in making worse the effects of overfishing, widespread pesticide use, pollution, urban expansion into the natural world, and go on and on and on. Come back, I'll tell you more. The facts are what they are. People are entitled to their own opinions. They're welcome to have them. But they're not entitled to their own facts. The facts are what they are, and there's no such thing as alternative facts. No. Alternative facts are falsehoods. That's what they are. There's no such concept in the world of science. I'll share more with you about this report and other things that are trending, but this has captured the attention of more than a few people. It's our responsibility to know what's going on. We'll try to do our best to let you know what's going on. Let's Talk Nutrition. Thanks for stopping by today. You are listening to LTN. It's coast to coast and it's global. We're here 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. We're live. The show airs live, round numbers between 9 and 11, more accurately, about 9:06 to 10:57 or 56, somewhere in there. Stephen knows exactly. He's behind the glass, and he makes sure that we go on and get off on time and gets us to the breaks and makes it all happen. He and I have been working together for 14 years. This is the 14th anniversary of Let's Talk Nutrition this month. It was on May the 5th in 2005 at 2 o'clock, I believe it was, on a Tuesday. Walked into this very room. It looks a lot different now than it did back then. And we went on the air. And it's hard to believe that we've come this far, and usually shows like this don't last long. They don't. They come and they go. There are a few that stick, and many of you listen to other health talk shows, and you know who those talk show hosts are, and some of them have retired now. But you know, my belief is that the more shows and the better shows there are, the better it is for everybody. And I don't see them as competitors. I just see them as colleagues, because we have our own agenda here and things to do, and a point of view that is a little different than a lot of the health talk shows. This show is about educating. It's about being evidence-based. It's about trying to not just inform people, but to persuade, to show a way, a path. I'm a great believer in giving people choices and ultimately letting them make the choice. And when you raise your children that way, sometimes you have to draw a line and say, there is no choice here. You either do it or you pay the consequences. But even then, you can give children and others and adults and whomever choices. And then you let that person make the choice. I can present a menu to you of various theories and ideas or practices and principles. You ultimately have to make the choice. And I'm not an MD, I'm a PhD, so I don't diagnose and treat, but I can tell you about the science. I can tell you about what we know, what we don't know. I can consult. And nor did I ever want to be a physician. If I did, I would have gone to med school, I guess. So, but we get a lot done here in our approach. And the point of view on this show, if you're new to the show, is that diet and nutrition together constitute the driving force for health, wellness, and well-being. Now, there are other variables involved that implicate your lifestyle, how you live, right? Which involves your sleep, managing stress, your relationships, your spiritual life, and so on. So it's health, wellness, and well-being. So if you're new to the show, that's just a little sketch of what we're about. There's no guest today. There's a lot to report. I got a ton to report. This new UN report, biodiversity report, is stunning. And no, I don't believe that there's an annual meeting somewhere in the Swiss Alps in some bunker where scientists, climatologists, and others meet to conspire to somehow put out false information about the science of climate change. I just don't buy that. I don't believe it. You have to show me the data, how that's happening. I do not think that these scientists, many of whom you will never know, they go unheralded. They work in obscurity, but they make such great contributions to humankind. And in this report by the UN, there were 150, I recall, 150 scientists involved from 50 nations, including the United States. So at some point, people have to you just cannot not recognize the facts. And we don't have the luxury of doing that anymore. these scientists are saying that there's a possibility, and it's real, of 1 million species becoming extinct. They're facing extinction. And if somehow you think, or anybody thinks, that that doesn't affect you and me and everybody on this planet and everything on it, they're mistaken. It doesn't work that way. But here's how to call, connect, write, fly in, do whatever it is. We have a number of ways to do this. You need your mic on.
You can.
This is radio.
Yeah, I was coughing a minute ago, and I got a cough drop now. So
okay.
You can reach us at 877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK. Don't forget Dr. Garko's personal email is drgarko@letstalknutrition.com. Follow us, like us on Facebook at Let's Talk Nutrition, on Instagram at Let's Talk Nutrition, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Let's Talk Nutrition, where everything is archived by date and it's closed caption for the hearing impaired.
To give you an example of what I'm talking about, of how the planet is, in danger, there's a new report, a new study out about arsenic being in the drinking water, such that it's damaging the hearts of young adults, according to this study. CNN and others are reporting on it. And you're going to be surprised as to what the source is. Rice, right? I don't know what's going on with this headset. I keep losing my. Rice takes up arsenic more readily than other grains. And the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is looking at the effects of long-term exposure to low amounts of arsenic in rice and rice-based products. Of all things, right? Another thing to worry about. Rice is many parts of the world and many food cultures, rice is a staple, particularly in Asian cultures. And so it's a priority that we try to figure this out. In April, your FDA and my FDA proposed a limit of 100 parts per billion of inorganic arsenic in infant rice cereal. Now, why does there have to be arsenic in the rice in the first place? And now in an infant rice cereal, they're allowing a limit of 100 parts per billion of inorganic arsenic. I don't know. It's just a little confusing to me as to how that happens. But long-term exposure to what we know is that long-term exposure to inorganic rice, that's a poison to humans, occurs naturally in the Earth's crust. We know that. And it's been linked, though, to various cancers, kidney damage, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes. That's not science fiction. The literature supports that. Organic arsenic, such as it's found in seafood, is not known, however, to be detrimental or otherwise toxic to humans. Arsenic can be found in the air and the soil. The World Health Organization says the greatest threat to public health globally is, however, from groundwater. That's contaminated as it flows through rocks and minerals containing arsenic. In the United States, CNN reported that people who live, and I'm quoting them, who live in rural and some suburban areas can be exposed to untreated groundwater through the use of private wells. Quote, people drinking water from private wells need to be aware that arsenic may increase the risk for cardiovascular disease. Testing those wells is a critical first step to taking action and prevent exposure. That's according to the lead author, Dr. Gernot Pichler, medical researcher and specialist that we'll talk more about. He says that private wells, well water, could be a source of arsenic for people that can endanger their health. Welcome back to Let's Talk Nutrition. I wanted to share this with you. Many markets that we're in, areas where people not connected to city water but use well water. So I thought that I would just share this briefly and let you know what's going on. This study, they said that, quote, people drinking water from private wells need to be aware that arsenic may increase the risk for cardiovascular disease. Testing those wells is a critical first step to take action and prevent exposure. This was the comment, quote, from the lead author, Dr. Gernot Pichler, a medical specialist at the Hospital of Heidelberg Heart Center in Vienna. Research has shown a correlation between low to moderate levels of arsenic and diabetes, hypertension, and cardiovascular issues, right? And how that happens, they're not sure. What's the mechanism of action? This new study analyzed data from the Strong Heart Family Study. That's a longitudinal study that looked at cardiovascular risks among American Indians who traditionally rely on well water. Why? Because they live in Oklahoma, Arizona, and North and South Dakota. And many of our listeners in the Midwest are using well water. So I'm trying to put this out there so you're aware. They gathered urine samples from 1,337 adults with an average age of 30.7 years and tested for arsenic levels in the study. And the size, shape, and functionality of their heart was also assessed with ultrasound. Nobody had diabetes or heart disease at the start of the study. But the researchers discovered that when arsenic levels in urine doubled, the chance of developing left ventricle hypertrophy, that's when your left ventricle enlarges, a thickening of the walls of the heart's main pumping chamber, rose to 47%. Having that happen puts you at risk here for a cardiovascular event. As the walls of the heart muscle wall thicken, the heart has to do what? It has to work harder. It's pushing a bigger muscle to pump the blood. And that condition is associated with sudden cardiac arrest, stroke, and heart failure. So this is serious business, arsenic in the water. You might want to have, if you have well water, you might want to have your well water tested. And don't assume that just because you're living in some remote area somewhere where there's looks like no pollution or whatever, nothing to worry about here, I would still do it. Here's how to contact us.
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK. I have a question about well water.
Yes.
Okay, I'm on a well where we're at, right? And what happens is every once in a while you'll see like mold and stuff build up on the taps. So I'm not sure if that's because the sediment that's in the water, or
I don't know. I don't know what that artifact on the tap is. You need to have somebody come out and test it. You're assuming it looks like mold. It looks like, I don't know what bacteria, what microorganisms might be in the water. Don't know. You have to have it tested. Or what metals are causing what appears to be, this is chemistry and it's microbiology.
right?
Right? I would have it tested. We had a well at my old 2 houses ago. We had a well. We also had city water. We never drank from that well. We only used it my mom used it to wash the lawn, to do the laundry and water the lawn. That's it. We had a filtering system on it. I still wouldn't drink it. And the guy drilled the well, drilled it deep. He said, "Oh, you have great water. Look how clear it is. How clean it." I said, "Yeah." I said, "How come when I wash my car, all the chemicals, when the car dries, it looks like, spots all over it?" Then tell me. No. Unless you have a ultra filter filtering system, I won't even drink it out of the tap from the city. I won't. Just won't. Maybe I'm OCD about this, Gary, but I wouldn't drink it. Sorry. Does it smell funny?
No.
Does it smell like rotten eggs?
Nope.
No. Okay. Your choice. I'm just saying. Let's see. There's so many stories here. I'm looking to which one do I tell you about next?
There's another hepatitis A now.
Why don't you talk about that? There's an issue going on here in Tampa. In fact, it's going on seemingly now around the country too. What's going on with hepatitis A?
Now they've come out with one of the high class restaurants in Tampa. Now one of the workers had hepatitis A, and that's Eulalie, and they just came out with that one today. So there's been a Taco Bell, a Wendy's, and the health department for Hillsborough County is giving away free hepatitis vaccines.
Oh my!
That's how bad it's gotten. So if you Google, hepatitis A and how it's transferred and everything, it's from not washing your hands, basically. And it's kind of, disgusting.
The sign in the bathroom. What's it say?
Employees must wash hands prior to going back to work.
Yeah. Wash your hands. It's a big issue here in Tampa. It's in the news every day. I saw a report yesterday. I think I made you aware of it. Was it Arizona?
Yeah.
You might find that story if you want to report on it when we come back. There was a big concern. I believe it was Arizona. They're having an hepatitis A issue there. Hepatitis A outbreaks.
Well, they're classifying as an epidemic, a booming epidemic now is what the media is saying.
Where?
Here in Tampa.
A booming epidemic. Just what we need. We come back, we'll have more to report. There's other stories trending, and we'll get to you if you'd like to talk to us. Let's Talk Nutrition doing that commercial, those commercial messages here in Tampa. They just did a story on how hepatitis A has doubled here in the community. Gary's been following that story, and they apparently have an issue in Arizona.
Yes. And one of the things is that they're talking about vaccines for hepatitis A, and here's the people that are at risk. Infants ages 6 to 11 months traveling overseas, toddlers experience homelessness, family members of adoptees from countries with hepatitis A, people in direct contact with others who have hepatitis A, people who work or travel in parts of the world where hepatitis A is common, people who use any type of illicit drugs, not just injected ones, people with clotting factor disorders, and people with chronic liver disease.
Turns out that hepatitis A is a vaccine preventable, communicable disease that affects your liver, and it's caused by the hepatitis A virus, HAV. It's transmitted typically from person to person through fecal, oral route, or consumption of contaminated food or water. So if you have a restaurant worker, a chef or a cook or a server that has hepatitis A, they can transmit that to somebody that's eating in the restaurant, right? It's into the food or whatever. Hepatitis A is a self-limited disease, does not result in chronic infection. And this is according to the CDC now. Most adults with hepatitis A have symptoms that include fatigue, low appetite, stomach pain, nausea, jaundice, because your liver, the biliary system is damaged. You turn yellow. That usually resolve within 2 months of infection. That's if you're treated, right? Typically. Most children less than 6 years of age do not have symptoms or have unrecognized infection. Antibodies produced in response to hepatitis A infection last for life and protect a person from being reinfected. It turns out the best way to prevent hepatitis A infection is to do what? Drink holy water? No. Get vaccinated.
Well, Arizona's had 212 cases higher than they had last year. But right now, in the little 8 counties that surround us that we broadcast in, we've had 561 new cases.
It's an epidemic here, right? And it spreads. These viruses are looking for a host. We are inconveniently for us, but conveniently for them, a good host. 877-897-8255. And I am your host of Let's Talk Nutrition. I'm seeking
good hand washing practices. We see that with good hand washing practices, Doc. And you go to a restaurant and you expect that these people should be trained in food and health and be health conscious.
Employees must wash hands before returning to work.
It's everywhere.
Then I look around and I don't see any soap.
Or you need paper towels
Well, paper towels are fine. It turns out that paper towels are the most sanitary thing to use.
Not the hand dryers.
No, look it up.
Yeah.
I reported on a study. They looked at all the different ways in a public bathroom to wash and dry your hands. It turns out paper towels was the most sanitary.
Yeah, I've had somebody over the internet just posted their brother got it in Guatemala eating from a restaurant.
I'm shocked. Probably the cook or somebody had it, gets on, they're infected.
You turned yellow and almost died.
Yeah, because there's biliary, the hepatitis affects the liver. Yeah, and it's a mess. There's so much news today. It's one of those, today's a rich news day. There's so much that's trending all over the place. According to this new report, too, summer's upon us and soon be upon us, and sunscreens. We've been taught to use sunscreens to really, lather up with the sunscreen before you go outdoors, especially here in Florida, in the Southwest, even up north during the summer. That sun is the photo damage can be, remarkable. U.S. Food and Drug Administration data reveals chemicals in the sunscreen are what? Absorbed into your body at levels high enough to raise concern about potentially toxic effects. they report that, according to this new report, that blood stream levels of 4 sunscreen chemicals increased dramatically after the subjects in the study applied spray, lotion, and cream for 4 days as directed on the label. As directed on the label. The levels exceeded the FDA's set threshold for topical medications. And, it's just a doctor, what's his name? Shinkai said, quote, "It's not likely they went a little bit over," she said. "It's really quite high, orders of magnitude higher than that," referring to what the people applied on their skin. So what are you supposed to do now? The study appears in the Journal of the American Medical Association. It was the lead author was a Dr. David Strauss. It's on May the 6th that it was published. If you're interested, you might want to look into this. I don't know what's the advice here. You got oxybenzone, benzone in there, avobenzone, and octocrylene to block harmful rays. Those are the kind of chemicals they use. These are organic chemicals, absorb ultraviolet radiation and convert it into a small amount of heat. Yet, in animal studies have raised concern that these chemicals, oxybenzone in particular, can be a hormone disruptor. I'm just reporting. There's a lot more to this story. I don't know what advice. I would recommend that you go to the Environmental Working Group website, ewg.org. They have a lot of good information on sunscreens. ewg.org. Use that website all the time. That's another story that's trending. Oh, my God. There's so much. Gary, you're almost afraid to get up out of bed. You got measles epidemic. You got a hepatitis epidemic. Now you got to worry about the sunscreen. Heaven's sake.
You got me that Shemagh for Christmas?
Yes.
And I wear that a lot now when I'm riding my motorcycle.
Yeah. I have. That Shemagh is nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love that thing. If you don't know what a Shemagh is, look it up.
There's a YouTube video on how to fold it.
Yeah. You'll see it worn in a lot of Middle Eastern cultures. It's that scarf,
Yep.
checkered. They have different designs on them. I love that thing.
Michael Norman had one when he was in Afghanistan.
Who's Michael Norman?
That's my nephew. He was he worked in the mortuary corps for the Army.
Yes.
And he had one. He wore it all the time, he said.
Absolutely. We come back. We have one more segment. We'll have the L10 health question of the day. I'll share with you a little bit more from this United Nations Biodiversity Report. It's grim. I'm sorry, it's grim. I'll tell you what I know. Okay, have the LTN health question of the day for you. Taking this now, the question is derived from this new report just out, the United Nations Biodiversity Report. You should take a look at it. It's worth taking a look at. I'll report on it. I'll continue to report on it over the next several days and probably weeks. There's so much in it. Here's the question. How many tons of heavy metals, solvents, toxic sludge, and other waste from industrial facilities are dumped annually into the world's waters? How many tons of heavy metals, solvents, toxic sludge, and other wastes from industrial facilities are dumped annually into the world's waters? Is it 100 to 200 or 300 to 400 million tons? I'll just give you two choices. Is it 100 to 200 million tons or 300 to 400 million tons? Here's how to call to get a $25 gift card with the right answer.
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK.
In the report, they talk about plastic pollution has increased tenfold since 1980. They report also that fertilizers entering coastal systems have produced more than 400 ocean dead zones. That's amazing. Fertilizer entering coastal ecosystems have produced more than 400 ocean dead zones. That's an area about the size of the United Kingdom, if you want to know. There's one thing after another in here. In 2015, 33% of marine fish stocks were being harvested at unsustainable levels. It goes on and on, one thing after another. No, this is interesting. More than a third of the world's land surface and nearly 75% of freshwater resources are now devoted to crop or livestock production. It's not sustainable. We're destroying the planet. Let's go to Tampa, Florida. Del, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Hi. Listen, you keep doing this stuff. I mean, it's just so amazing that all of the things you're giving us, all this information, and how we're not doing what we need to be doing.
Well, you got to start with knowing. But as I think it's Goethe that said, knowing is not enough. Somewhere along the line, you got to get to doing. I'm paraphrasing. That's a very sloppy breakdown of what he said. But knowing is not enough. But you got to start with knowing, and then you got to move to doing. And so, at least we can get the information and present it. I know it's hard some of this stuff is uncomfortable to hear. There's a lot of good news, too, but we have scientists that are truly devoted to trying to help get this thing turned around. There is a window. They think it's not much of a window, though. We're not talking. Go ahead.
If we don't fix the bad news, the good news ain't going to make any difference.
I guess so. Del, I don't know. Maybe you and I will be gone from the earth. I don't know where this is going to lead to and how, there's not much of a window left. These scientists are very concerned. And these are not nefarious people with nefarious intentions. These, they're scientists. I mean, they don't have they're not making this data up. I was looking for this one statistic about how much 0.7 Celsius the temperature has gone up, and I was looking for that fact. But how many tons of heavy metals, solvents, toxic sludge, and other wastes from industrial facilities are dumped annually into the world's waters? 100 to 200 million or 300 to 400 million tons?
300 to 400 million tons.
Think about that.
No.
I mean, I try to, those are statistics and they are abstractions. And I'm trying to think, 300 to 400 million tons.
Hard to comprehend.
It is. I mean, these oceans are vast, but my God, they're not infinite in how much abuse they can take. 300 to 400 million tons. My God. Congratulations. You want a $25 supplement gift card.
Thank you. I hope I'm around long enough to use it.
You'll be around. No worries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Del. I don't know. We get up every day, and most of us are consumed. We have so much about our own health and life and family that we have to be concerned about. But at the same time, our life is not just. It's not that compartmentalized and contained. We are interconnected to each other. We are interconnected to everything on the planet. Every mosquito, every fly, every tree, every flower. It's all interconnected. And I remember many years ago when I went into graduate school, and that was my first introduction to these kinds of concepts. This was a long time ago. But it opened me up and opened my eyes, and I started, I didn't realize, and I was trained and to think critically, and I had great professors, and I was privileged, and I feel so gifted to be, and I'm so grateful for that kind of training. Most people get up every day and they're just, and I get it, they're so consumed with their own life. They're not worried about the oceans and the air and the water and all the water and the soil and the food chain. I understand. But sooner or later, it's going to take us. It takes us. You can't let 300 to 400 million tons of toxic material dumped into the world's waters every year. I mean, is that necessary? We can't figure out how to do better than this? I think so. But this is again, knowing is the first. People got to be motivated. You got to know what's going on. Get the facts. And hopefully we make a contribution to that. In the meantime, we all can do better ourselves, right? And make our own individual contribution to make this planet better. Because our health is our wealth, and our health is the wealth of those who care about and love us, including this planet.
Everyone's raving about the newest botanical superstar hitting the store shelves nationwide. Hemp-derived cannabinoids